to the computer.
Okay.
Hi, this is Jeana Locke, and this is November 10th, 2020. The reason that we are here tonight is that we are releasing fatigue from current events. So the concept of what fatigue has been and where it's come from and what's going on with it is what we're looking at. So fatigue from current events is our topic, and we want to stop and look at it. And we want to talk a little bit about what fatigue is about. So this was what I was guided by White Dog Council to share on this fatigue. This is tonight is on fatigue from current events regarding the pandemic that feels never ending, the increasing numbers of confirmed cases, the hospitalizations, the fears, and when will it ever end? The frenzy around repeating patterns from the media and others who are caught up in that frenzy. The doomsday emotions around everything. The doomsday, like everything's about to end no matter where we go or what we hear. The low vibration emotions around the US presidential election and the unease around the political fallouts. What could happen? What will happen? Will this ever end? And it's just like an ongoing, slowly, never getting to the end. The job searches and the fears of being financially unable to sustain a lifestyle or any lifestyle. Releasing the feeling of chaos around you in your emotional body, physical body, mental body, and spiritual body, which would allow peace to flow in. So this is for everyone that's in this group that has purchased this membership program, and for anyone who chooses to purchase this particular clearing. So each soul is already in their own sacred container. So each of you are in your sacred containers, and then you're in a sacred bubble within that has already been there. So the 16 are there, and then the group of other is all those others who will have purchased it, observed this, or watched this. You do not have to listen to it. You don't have to watch it to be able to receive the releases. So some of these, you may want to re-listen and take a different topic each time you do. So if you have multiple topics that are fatiguing your energy. So if you have a topic of the pandemic fatiguing your energy, take that and go through the whole thing and listen to it, just concentrating on the pandemic and letting those release. Then if you have one on job search or professional life, on what to do and how to do it, then go and release the fatigue on that. And as you hear it, you'll hear examples. You have a fatigue around all the politics, all the us versus them and who's right and who's wrong. Then if you have fatigue around it, then go in and listen to it just for that. So each of us may have a combination of those, and it's going to be able to provide each of those, and you may want to listen to it multiple times. And Jeana has to go back and listen to it at least 3 times.
Okay.
And this is one time she's probably going to have to actually go back in and actually write out all these emotions and send to you, because they're sort of big. They're all in the body code. Yes. Okay. So you want to set your intention when you listen to it on what you're trying to get the fatigue off of. So if you have fatigue on a different topic, take that different topic. So if you have relationship fatigue, your relationship is just wearing you out and you are fatigued from that, take the topic and put relationship in there. If you have fatigue on career, take career. If you have fatigue on, let's say, you have fatigue on health, your personal health, and it's just like it's ongoing and you're having constant issues with it, then do that. If you're having fatigue on any topic, you can take it and do it. Some of them will be more relevant than others. Yes, thank you. Okay. All right, so tonight I am going to do a quick grounding with us, and I am actually going to do my area with a spray, just because if this was a very, I cleared the energy before I started pulling the stuff, and I did an energetic cleanse of my energy around in my physical environment, and then off of myself, and then off of the group, all 16 plus the other, which is anyone else that would do it. But I just want to say that sometimes, so I'm going to refresh it, and I just happen to be using this particular spray as one I like, and I will be honest with you, it wasn't real economical, but I love it. It's called Divine Grace, and it is going to keep me really in that space whenever I need it. So it's sort of like I can spray this and I'll go immediately back to my grounding center. Did that make sense to you guys? It's like once I've grounded and I've used that scent, I can use it again, and I immediately, it's like the smell of cinnamon, and you remember your grandmother if she made cinnamon rolls. That's what my grandmother made, the cinnamon rolls. And so I can smell cinnamon, and I see my grandmother in the kitchen. I use this scent before I ground, and then when I need to go back and be regrounded or I'm having a tough day, I use this around me, and I can spray it, and then I can immediately go back into that without having to go all the effort of doing the regrounding and the recentering. So that's the reason I sprayed it just now, was because this is a much heavier one than normal, and I wanted to be sure we were there. So I'm just going to do, it's really going to be a fast way to do it because I want you guys to start literally getting connected quickly. So just see that bright light above you, sense it, see it, feel it, or imagine it. However you do. If you feel the heat of it, that's wonderful. If you can sense it, if you can literally, like I have it come down around me, and I always have these little, I don't even know what you call them, but it's like these little particles that are in it that are like beautiful glitter that comes down. And that glitter is just cleansing out all of the low vibe energies in my space, the physical space, and anything attached to any of me or my chakras. And I just go through and I count those chakras in reverse. So I'm going to go through my star chakras, and I'm going to do 7 for our whole group. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm at our physical, so I'm at the crown. 7, third eye. 6, throat. 5, 7, 6, 5. 4 is heart. 3, solar plexus. 2, sacral. And 1 is root. One's a little harder. I'm going to go on down to the earth chakras. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I've gone to the center of the earth. I'm going to put my roots all around the center of the earth, and I'm going to leave all of those low vibe energies there to the compost pile. My particular grounding technique has a big compost pile at the bottom, and that compost pile, I leave all of the stuff that needs to be composted and redone and revived, and I'm going to leave it for God to fix. So I'm going to leave it there at the center of the earth. I'm going to pick up the beautiful flowers and the beautiful things that are growing, and I'm going to come back around me. So I'm going clockwise. And I'm going to go through my earth chakra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm activating all the good stuff that I can feel. Now I'm going to go to my physical body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to go up to the star chakra. I'm going to just do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go back to God. I'm just going to ask God, the creator, the universe, source energy, whatever you call that big source. I'm just going to ask, do I need to repeat this process to cleanse out any more energy or to reactivate again? Because otherwise, I'd like you just to keep it in a continuous loop of cleaning and activating as we go through this process. No, do not have to. I did have to when I cleared earlier. I had to do it 3 or 4 times. So just so you know, probably got some of that cleared off for you. Okay. So I'm going to repeat what we're clearing. The topic is releasing fatigue from current events. And these current events include the pandemic that feels never ending, the increasing number of confirmed cases, the hospitalizations, the fears, and when will this ever end? We're going to release fatigue from a frenzy around repeating patterns from the media and other souls who are caught up in this frenzy. We're going to release fatigue from doomsday emotions around everything. The doomsday emotions around career and politics and the pandemic and relationships and housing and food and the doomsday whole feeling about our air, everything there is. We're going to release those. We're going to work on that. We're going to do the release fatigue from current events on the low vibrations around the presidential election, the unease of all this political fallout. What's going to happen? What could happen? When will it happen? How will it happen? What's next? And will this ever end? We want to relieve the fatigue of this. We're going to relieve the fatigue of the job searches and the fears of being financially unable to sustain our lifestyle, and the fears of sustaining any lifestyle. And that was a very strong statement, but there's a fear that you won't be able, someone, or there are several in the group that won't be able to sustain any lifestyle. It's that everything is out of control when it comes to lifestyle. And it's very tough. The last one is a feeling of the chaos, release the feeling of fatigue around chaos around you in your emotional body, which is where it just keeps flowing and flowing, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And they want to allow peace to flow in. When we finish, we're going to activate some things. Okay. So, all right. Now, the first one, the first release is post-traumatic. Post-traumatic, emotional and physical shock. This is around all topics that are anything to do with PTSD. And it could be the extreme, and I'm not diagnosing PTSD, cannot diagnose that. Not trying to, but I'm saying if you feel this stuff, it's an extreme polarization around topics. And it's around parties, political parties, or health, or the epidemic, or the job loss, or the applied on a job and didn't get it. And it is a whole deal. And each time something happens, you get triggered inside of you, and it knocks it even harder. And the next time you have that trigger pop up, it hits you harder, and it's magnified and bigger than it was the first time. So when you have PTSD, you've had this fatigue, and now PTSD is setting in, and it is bigger and worse than it was the very first time. So with that one, it's a whole thing. You've experienced some type of a traumatic thing. That's why you may need to repeat this for the politics. You may need to repeat this on the health issues of the epidemic. You may need to repeat it on job issues. You may need to repeat it on anything to do with children in school, or anything to do with relationships. You may need to repeat that because your post-traumatic issues could be about different ones. And I have 3. That's why I was told to re-listen to it 3 times. That I am getting triggered on it. Each time I'm triggered, it gets bigger, and it sort of magnifies it to be this overwhelmingness that I can't seem to control. So if you're feeling that type of emotion, they want you to stop again and ask, just close your eyes and ask the Creator to release that emotion from your field. So if you feel it hitting you and it's triggering you, just stop, close your eyes, connect for just 1 second. Even if you don't count the numbers to do it, just ask to connect, let it flow. Feel, sense, imagine somehow that the Creator, God, the universe is taking care of you. And would you please let this go? And each time you do it, you're going to release more and more layers off of that traumatic experience that's come up. And it's actually pretty big, and women experience it more than men. And women are experiencing it more than men now. So they're just going to have me release it using a magnet. So I'm going to use a magnet over a meridian. So I'm going to go 2, 3. And at the very end, I'm also going to stop and read a big release for all of these. That includes more. So number 2 is an idea. The next release is an idea intolerance. An idea intolerance. These come up when you've come in contact with some idea that's a thought, an emotion, a concept, an event, an action, a person, a place, or a thing that you've had trouble processing the issue. So you've had a terrible time around it because you've already had something around this, and now all of a sudden it's come back up, and it is like this whole idea of it blows it up again. So let's say that there is this whole thing on some cities in Canada got shut down again this last weekend. And they shut them down again and sealed off and said no more. And when they did that, that created inside this idea intolerance that some people couldn't take it. So some people might be they've applied on jobs and they got one more rejection. Or even if they apply on a job now, they're like looking at it before they go, and they're looking at the job and they're going, I got a rejection last time I applied on one like this. I'm just going to get it again. So their idea intolerance is I can't even do it. So we want to release around that. And we need to see what emotions are holding that in place. And there's a visual in place of sort of like, there's this visual inside of the heads of each of the people that have this idea intolerance of whatever that idea intolerance is about. And they're sort of showing it like all of a sudden, it's like you see this whole experience of, like a job, and you've applied on 50 jobs and you've gotten zero information from 35 of them. You got back a little bit of information on a few of them some of them are still sitting out there. 12 of them are still sitting out there, and 3 of them you've got rejections on. So out of 50, 35, no information. 12, you can sit there and sort of see a little bit. And then there's these 3 that all of a sudden you've already been rejected. We're sorry, we've already hired somebody else, or you don't get anything. And all of a sudden there's another job with the same exact job title, the same thing at another location, or even at the same location. And you see it, and your whole thing on it is that you cannot do anything except have this idea of intolerance. I can't do it. And so visually, all you want to do is just wad it up. You just want to wad it up. You want to wad the thing up, and you want to throw it as hard as you can at something and just say to hell with it. And that's where that whole thing is, on an idea of intolerance of what good is it, what do I need to do, and I can't do it. I am helpless and I am hopeless. So we're releasing helplessness. We're releasing hopelessness. Releasing lack of control. We're releasing the whole concept of the fatigue around one more time. Whatever it's one more time of the pandemic and more shutdowns, or one more time of being short on cash, or one more time of a job not going through, or one more time of a politician doing something that you can just see is so out of integrity, or one more time of hearing somebody talk about something that you just can't handle it again, or one more time walking out in public with a mask on when you are so tired of wearing masks, but you know you should do it. So we're just going to release that whole visualization that you just want to wad it up, throw it away, or burn it, because you're just done. Be aware you can have an intolerance to anything. And when you feel that intolerance in you, go through the emotion code chart and just release the emotions around whatever you feel the intolerance is in. This is a body code topic. You won't find it. And if you have to, just ask for Jeana to take a screenshot to show you can actually stop and pull the emotions up to release them. Because the intolerance is there. Get rid of it before it overwhelms you, and get rid of it where it overtakes you. You can see the people who got overwhelmed and overtaken in this past few months. The ones who've gotten overwhelmed, when their city gets shut down again, they lose it. They either become physically ill, they have become where they can't handle anything, they totally freak out, they go and rebel and they say, I'm not going to do it. There's all kinds of things that can happen. Politically, there was all of these backlashes, and they start replying on all this stuff and just telling people all of these thoughts when there's no, you're not going to change their thoughts. We all know you don't change people's thoughts by just yelling and screaming at them. All you do is reinforce that they believe that they're correct and they believe you're not. So your role modeling of good spirit and good behavior is much more appropriate, but you can't do it. You're just done. You've lost it. So they want you to be able to stop to say that it manifests as overwhelm. It manifests as eating disorders. So if you're feeling an idea intolerance and you're eating way too much or not anything, then you may want to stop and see if there's something that is a really stuck topic right there, to see what it is and just release those emotions. If you're having headaches, if you can't focus, If all of a sudden you just can't focus and you can't stay concentrating on something, it may be an idea intolerance. It may be, I just can't do this anymore. I've got to stop. Okay. The next one, third one. The third one I think everyone gets, but they don't know how to do it. So we want to think about this differently. The third one is also in body code, and it is toxic media. So we want to talk about media in a different way. We want to look at media as an environment, an environmental issue that is energetic that we can't touch, except it's polluting us. It's polluting us spiritually, or physically, or emotionally. It's doing it somehow mentally. It is literally like it's taking that and it is polluting us mentally. It's giving us false information that's not even true. And emotionally, it's feeding us that this is really a big deal when it's not such a big deal, or we should be able to ignore it. And then spiritually, it's like bombarding us about making us question, is that even what we should be doing it? And physically, our body's just taking a beating. So toxic media, just think of it as an environmental issue. Every time somebody wants you to listen or watch or do something that you say, ooh, that feels yuck to me. That doesn't feel good. Or it triggers a reaction in you for you want to do something. So the whole thing on it is, and it's not even in Dr. Nelson's chart, but we want to look at it as a pollution. So we want to think of it as media pollution. And would you let your children be in media pollution? Would you let your children be in a nuclear place that you can't see it, but you know it's there? Would you let them be in that environment? If not, then think the same thing on media. Choose, if you can know that that is toxic media, then don't let them do it. Choose how you react to it. So would you allow your children near a toxic dump? Would you do it? Do you let yourself go near the toxic dump? But how many people do you know have to go watch? How many people were glued to toxic dumps in the last 2 to 3 weeks? How many people in every country were glued to them? And that was not giving us anything. Did it change the results? Did it change how fast the results came back? Did it do anything? But how many people were glued to it? They couldn't get off of it because they had pulled that toxicity in and made it addictive. So when it is, it's an invisible, energetic form, and your body can't process it. Your body could not process it. You were exhausted. You were tired. You had no energy. You felt like it was something wrong with you. You couldn't imagine what it was, and because it's energetic and you didn't know what it was. So toxic media has been a huge issue, and it has polluted your energetic field. That's one of those times when you want to stop and cleanse your energy around you, and you cleanse that in many ways. You choose what comes into your eyes. You choose what gets to come in. You choose what you see. Remember that with your children. Choose what they see. If they see 1,000 people getting killed in a game, did they think it's okay? Do you want to choose that? Do you want to choose what you have come into your eyes and what you see, and what's acceptable or not, and having other people tell you what's acceptable? So you determine what your values are, and then you choose it. And if it means you are not going to turn on that television station, or you're not going to be able to turn on this kind of social media, or you go up to those 3 little dots on so many of the media things and do hide, or you hit unfollow, or you hit block, or you hit whatever because you don't need the input. Would you go to lunch with one of those people and have a meal with them? So do you need to let that come into your environment? If you're having a hard time, there's nothing wrong if it's your mission to be a part of the solution. Then you need to be able to, if you can observe it and see the contrast in it, it's not polluting you. If you can observe it and see the contrast, you're not being polluted. But if you are getting pulled into it and your energy is just sucked in, then you are not just observing. It's getting in your system. You don't have a good protective thing up. Use your energy bodies. Use whatever you need to do that you ground, but do something to protect yourself. And if you're pulled, then you want to be sure you stop and look at that. But if you're observing it and you get the contrast of it and you go, oh, I have a solution for this, then that's part of your mission to work and overcome. So whenever somebody talks about, oh, you turn off the media, oh, you don't want to be informed, just think of it as some of that's pollution out there. And some of it is not. If you can observe it and just know what's good and what's bad, you're fine. But if you can't, then you're going to have to be sure that you don't let your soul, your body, get polluted by these others. Okay, release that. Okay. Now the next one is called emotional reverberation. It's like your body reverberates. I can't even say it tonight. Emotional reverberation. It's like a ringing in the body. So something happens and it just goes on and on and on. And even though you leave the space and you've left that, or let's say if it was a relationship issue and you had a fight with somebody and you left the space, and let's say I have this as a person and this is a person, and they have a fight and they're yelling at each other. And this person is now over here in a completely different place and it's only this person, but this person's still shaking. That's a reverberation. And so the whole thing on it is that it's not gone off of this person. It's not gone. It's still there. And that's what that is that it's there. And all of a sudden, they even think about this other person. They think about, oh, that's what this other person is. And all of a sudden, they start shaking again. So that same concept can be on these things that we've been dealing with, the politics. They can think about they were us and them. Didn't matter what us and them were because you don't even know. But if you think about us and them and then they think about them, and all at once you just get angry inside that here's what this is, or how dare they, or how could that be? That's a reverberation. And that's what that can be. There was some things holding it to us. Pardon me. And so when you're triggered, it is exaggerated or magnified the next time. Okay, there were 3 emotions holding it on to us. The first one's helplessness. And we felt helpless to do anything about it. We observed it. The epidemic, we felt helpless. The politics, we felt helpless. The relationship, we felt helpless. The job search and the rejections or the no information, we felt helpless. Can you see how the reverberation is that stupid job description that we wadded up a few minutes ago that we visually did? That job description thing, it makes us vibrate every time we think about applying on one more job. We reverberate. So it's helplessness. I have no control. Then the next one is grief. And the grief is the whole thing about it is the loss of what it was before. So whatever it was before, which was health, and we didn't have to wear masks, and we could go, and we could hug people. We could travel to see each other people. We could have a retreat. We could do whatever. We had jobs. We might have had money. We can all of a sudden, it's the grief of the loss of all the things we wanted. And the grief's pretty heavy. And then that third one on it is a lack of control. And it's showing up the most. It's popping up everywhere. We feel a lack of control on so many levels. We feel it on politics and how it's going to react and what's going to react and when it's going to react and who's going to do that. We feel it on equity and discrimination, and we're like, is it going to pop up again, or have we overcome some of it, or is it getting any better? We see it on health and COVID, and is it going to come back in, and are they going to do this, and this is going to happen to me? And it's this lack of control. And it's on the job. It's like, are they even going to open the job? And then when they open the job, then they lower the pay, and then they turn around, and then it's like, I don't even get an interview, or I got an interview and I was really good, but then I didn't get selected and I don't understand. And it's the relationship, and all of a sudden you did everything just right, and your spouse yells at you and you go, I don't. And you all of a sudden have it. So that emotional, vibrational thing is big, and the lack of control about it. It can be external lack of control. It can be internal lack of control. It can be a spiritual, it can be physical, and it's starting to show up physically. It's starting to show up with people getting sick from other things. It's starting to show up from anxiety, it's lack of sleep. It's starting to show up of overeating and undereating. And I think you're beginning to see how all of these are all linked together, is that there's a whole big topic here of how there's like no control of anything in your life. So we're going to stop and release helplessness. We're going to release grief. And we're releasing lack of control. And I'm doing this for ancestral. There's a bunch of ancestral stuff in here. The ancestral stuff is on anyone and their families as well. And the ancestral stuff is pretty big. The next one is memory field. And this is from a troubling event that's happened. And you can't move past it. So it could be that job application that you spent all those hours on, and you did such a beautiful job, and you double checked it and you triple checked it. And then you got the rejection just within 2 or 3 days that they hired someone else. And they probably didn't even look at your resume and your application and your cover letter. And that whole memory field is that you can hardly move beyond it the next time something just like it opens up. It's sort of like, especially with that same company. And you look at this company and you say, oh, this company hires internally. They don't even look at this stuff. They aren't even going to give me a chance. Do they have me blackballed? And you come up with all these things inside of you in a memory field. It is something that you just can't move beyond. It is topics like, for Jeana, it was all the miscarriages she had. She couldn't move beyond them for a long time. She couldn't move beyond it. Even the thought of trying to have a child again was devastating to her at a point, because she could not emotionally handle another miscarriage. So it was a memory field that she couldn't move beyond from all of that experience. And it could be the job, it could be illness, it could be like, if I do this, I'm going to get ill. It could be, if I do this, this could happen. If I say this, this could happen. And it is with the relationship, if I move this way or if I speak this way. Have you ever had that relationship where you somehow feel like you've triggered them, you didn't mean to, but just by your gestures or your motion, or you answered, and all of a sudden you have no idea. So you all of a sudden have this memory field and you turn away from it and fight from it. So it's sort of like they explained it in Body Code. It's like this rainstorm that's following you, and it's constantly raining on you, and it's always there. So whether it's the job and not having one, it's constantly raining, no job. It's not having enough money and the business not doing well, or the company being fearful, or them cutting back, and it's just constantly raining on you. Or it's that constant pull of that other person you're caring for, and it's just constantly raining on you. And no matter where you go, you move over here and you can't get out of the rainstorm, and you move over here and you can't get out of the rainstorm, and you move over here and you can't get out of the rainstorm, and the rain is coming down everywhere. So it's a memory field that just keeps it raining on you. And oftentimes this is going to impact your third eye and your crown, because you're not going to be able to envision what to do to get beyond it, and you can't imagine anything any better. It's just so doggone stuck. This rainstorm is like stuck on you. You can't get it off. And there are 3 emotions holding it there. The first one is shock, and that was how things came down. So whether it would be the epidemic and the whole world shutting down and staying home, and don't you can talk with people, but you can't touch them, you can't go out, scrub your hands constantly, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, that whole thing of it, the shock of it. It could be the shock of all the jobs went away, or all of a sudden they low pay, or they're undermining, lowballing, or it could be overwork, of the shock of, they're going to work me to death because they're not going to hire anybody else, because they don't know how the world's going to look, so they don't want to have anybody they have to let go, so they don't have to pay unemployment, so they're going to work me to death instead, and they know there's no job, so they're going to keep on doing it. It could be for all of those people who do energy work, there are no clients, and we just feel like it's raining on them. There's no clients. There's never going to be any clients. No matter what I do, there won't be any clients. I can't seem to get over there's no clients. Or my client list isn't growing. Why isn't my client list growing? I don't understand why my client list isn't growing. And it's raining, no client list. It's raining. It's just raining that no clients at all. Everything on it is that everything about it is it's just raining, a thunderstorm and lightning. It's just shock. We're going to release that shock. So you let it go. So let go of the shock. The next one is failure. The failure is you can't seem to do anything about it. I can't get out from under the rainstorm. Please get me out from under this rainstorm. Please get me out, but I can't. I move away. I can't get out. I go over here. I can't get out. I go there. I can't get out. And it's raining just as hard no matter where I go. So we're going to get rid of failure and let go of letting that rainstorm hit us. So we can see with our third eye and our crown so that we can see a way beyond. And sometimes we need a new environment to do it in. Sometimes we need to Zoom with somebody we haven't talked to in a long time, or sometimes we need to go do something different from what we've been doing so that we can actually see it from a different perspective, because our perspective has a rainstorm and somebody else's perspective may not see the rainstorm. Perspective's a biggie. Number 3 on that one is anger. And anger is you taking these topics, whatever it is, the political issue stuff going on with the governments, whatever they may be, the pandemic, the job search stuff, the relationship thing, every one of those, you have anger. And you feel really angry about it. We're not talking little anger. We're talking really mad anger. We're talking like really petty, mad, angry. And you are just, as someone said to me, boiling mad today. So that's when you've taken this topic so personally that you can't let it go. And it has been a wrong to you. You have been wronged. You have been wronged so badly, and there is nothing anyone can do to fix it. It doesn't matter if they apologize. It doesn't matter if they turn blue in their face and apologize. They have wronged you, and you are so angry about it, and you can't get beyond it. It's against you. It's emotional. It's hurtful. It's fearful. There is so much rejection to it, and there's so much fear. So this whole memory field is that you see it, and all you can see is the anger of how you felt. So we're going to release the anger. 2, 3. And let's see if we can get memory field cleared back up. So memory field is cleared now. Memory field's being cleared. So if you go back and re-listen to this, think about it for each of the topics individually and push stop on the replay and just go through it and say, do I have anger over relationship stuff? That's what Jeana will work with on that one. She'll have relationship over job stuff and professional career stuff and career types with profession and clients and all that. She has anger. She'll have anger over that. She will have anger over the pandemic and how it is impacting so many and the fears of them. And so she needs to go in and stop and let go of anger for each of those 3 things. Can you see how you can do that? You want to look at it from the angle of where do you have it. If it's sustainability of what the job is, are they working? I'm watching many friends whose wives have, their jobs have continued. They have plenty of sustainable income coming in, but they're being worked. They're being worked to unbelievable depths. They're being worked unfairly because there's a whole different way of looking at it. And the employers are not handling it so well. And it's a whole thing of watching them. And then you go, oh, maybe I'm sort of lucky that I'm not in the middle of that, because you're seeing it and you go, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable how much they're expecting from this person. So the memory field is them trying to let go of that and ask to release it, and just put your hand over 3 times to ask to release each of those. And you may have more. And the next one is a post-hypnotic suggestion. So the 6th one is post-hypnotic suggestion, and these are coming from the outside. The post-hypnotic suggestions. And it is, I'm not important. So there's a post-hypnotic suggestion that what you think is not important. What you think isn't important. So when the social media is giving you input, they think they want to convey to you that what you thought, they want you to believe what they believe. But what the Creator wants you to know is what you really believe and value in your heart is important. And somebody is trying to make you think that what you think, that you're not important enough, and that what you believe is not important enough, and that if you're not important about it, whether it was a job or the pandemic or whatever, there is. But post-hypnotic suggestions are making it turn into losing the personal connection to it. And you sort of feel lost in the numbers. It's like, I'm just a number. I'm not anything but a number. So it's like a job application, and they say to you, we got 15,000 applications in. Did you really expect to get an interview? Believe it or not, just because they said they got 15,000 doesn't mean they got 15,000 filled out completely. And I doubt if they did get 15,000. They might have, and whatever it may have been, is that you are important and you should be valued and should be looked at. So we want to release the post-hypnotic suggestion and the anchor despairs that you're not important, because you are important, and you need to look at you as being a part of the solution to all these different things going on. So you can actually be that part. C4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's this post-hypnotic suggestion that someone's made you feel like the universe hates me, or I've done something wrong and I'm getting punished. So interesting, this came up today. Jeana said this out loud to someone today. I feel like I'm being punished and that God is mad at me. And then they bring it up in this release. She said it out loud. What have I done that's made God so mad that I have to be punished, and that the universe is just angry at me? It's never going to let me have what I seek and what I desire. As long as she believes that, that's going to be true. As long as she believes it, she won't have anything, because the universe gives you what you believe. So we need to release the post-hypnotic suggestion that she had and that some of you have on different topics. And they're all on different topics, and we're going to release it. Recovery interference. Recovery interference. It develops when you cannot recover after something's happened. Jeana had a traumatic event several years ago that occurred, and she found herself having some health issues come up. And she finally started working using emotion code to get with an emotion code practitioner to clear up the base of that, and her health issues cleared up almost immediately. But she couldn't recover from her health stuff until she got rid of the emotional things that were tying it down. So you're having, there's those emotional energies are holding and dragging down your energy field, and it can't recover from things that are normal. So it is having to do, could be anything from, and then here he says, muscle spasms, yes. Scar tissue, yes. Any kind of chronic inflammation, yes. And that it can actually, once we release this, you may start healing occur. So we want to stop and look at are there emotions underneath this that need to be released? No. So the recovery interference is recognizing that a lot of these things we release today are so each time something happens, you get it magnetized. Let's go back through this for 1 minute. They want you to recognize that the first one was post-traumatic emotional shock, and we released that. But post-traumatic shock has a continuous loop. You get triggered and it hits again, and you get triggered and it hits again. Well, what triggered it? Some kind of number 2 was idea intolerance. That was what triggered that post-traumatic emotional shock thing. Jeana didn't see this till just now, by the way. Is that what triggered that post-hypnotic shock thing to make this kind of continuous loop? Was that idea intolerance. That idea intolerance is an idea came up, it popped up, and every time it gets triggered, it makes it bigger, and it makes the post-traumatic issue, the emotional shock, the PTSD, get bigger. Then there's the toxic media, and the media being toxic, and every time she would turn on the news, or her spouse would turn on the news, and he would turn on these shows, and all of a sudden she'd get splashed with it, and she would see a certain name, and she would get triggered inside, and it would be like, ugh. And then she would feel that whole thing of that emotional reverberation, like she literally could feel it reverberating in her when she would hear certain names, and when they would trigger her, when she would hear people discount people of color, or she would hear people discount people of gender, the genders that were there, and they would make it where because of their color or because of their gender they were unable to do something, because of their age they could not be able to do something. That whole thing on emotional reverberation was triggering this PTSD right over here. Then the next one was memory field, and the memory fields where she just kept seeing these things just pop back up, and they just kept getting bigger, and they were like an idea intolerance, and they kept popping. So as you see this has all been a continuous loop, and it's caused you to have recovery interference, so you can't even get through any of it. So there's been too much. Fatigue is on all the current events, not just one. It's on all of them. It is on the political unease, the political polarity in every country and between countries and between belief systems and belief processes. And then there's going to be the whole thing on the health issue and epidemic and the worldwide thing, and how do we help others, and when do we do it, and our borders are closed, and if I go somewhere, what will happen, and if I don't get to go somewhere, I'm going to go crazy if I don't get out of here. And then there's going to be that whole concept of jobs and employment, and how's this impacting our economy, and then you hit how that's impacting relationships. Can you imagine being stuck in a household with somebody you actually do not like and being there 24/7 all the time? And yes, some of you are living with it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't even leave this place. And all of a sudden they call and they say, by the way, we're shutting down again and you're not allowed to go out, and here's what you can do. And all of a sudden you're stuck again with that person. So it's like the relationships, the jobs, the financial stability, the government, the whole political environment, the political unease, that is causing each of us with the concept of we're fatigued on everyone. If you were to put a measurement of fatigue, you could put a measurement of 0 to 10. 10 is the worst, and 0 is I don't have any fatigue there. What is your fatigue on the epidemic? So Jeana's fatigue on the epidemic is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's on a 5. What is her epidemic on political stuff in the United States? 1. She's probably at a 1. She's observing it now. Took her a while to get there. Non-wow, lots of releases. Where is she on relationship? Where's the fatigue on her relationships? Out of 10, 0 is being none, and 10 is being a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, 7. Then she goes over here and she can stop and look at employment or financial stability. You can look at employment or jobs, anything on prosperity and sustainability and lifestyle, and even knowing if you can provide for that lifestyle or what's going to happen on that lifestyle, and can I continue it, and do I even make a decision, and do I change anything, or can I change anything, or should I change anything? So that whole sustainability of lifestyle for Jeana, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She's on 8. For not understanding, and the fatigue on that topic. The fatigue, she's just exhausted from it. And then she goes around and she turns around and looks at other areas in her life that would be the same thing. She had a health issue come up not long ago, pretty significant health issue. Doctors got all up in the air about it, like big time up in the air, like you got to be here every 2 weeks and you got to do all this stuff. And they were like big time up in the air. And so she kept saying, there's nothing actually wrong. It's going to be fine. She kept muscle testing it. She got it. It was okay. But with fairness on it was that her fatigue on the topic was at a 10. Now, if she had a 1, yes. So she's good. But at that point, her fatigue on even hearing the doctors talk to her again was like, oh my goodness, please don't even talk to me. I know it's going to be fine. Quit freaking out. And it was there. Can you see where fatigue is different for different things? So we're going to do recovery interference. And we've released all of those things, so now we're going to bring it all together. So I'm serving as a proxy for all of us in this group, for all of our chakras and our physical chakras, our earth chakras and below, our Akashic records, and I place all of these into the light of God, our creator, source energy, and universe, the purpose of rejuvenating and reviving. And I need to use this. And now I ask that we clear out everything that's contained in all of these stories that we just had, all of these pictures we saw, all these emotions we just felt, and anything about it in the event or events, anything that created it, clear it, delete it, transmute it, de-story it across all time, space, realities, realms, lines, layers, and levels. Any contracts, vows, obligations, karma, and group agreements. We break any soul contracts from the past to self about these, from ancestors, from past life and current life, from pacts or agreements, and any contracts that we did not sign or do not serve us, or others broke them, or if they are no longer an obligation. They are not binding. We clear out all of our soul's memory to clean it out. We ask to go back to our original programming, and that we are now at our original, which was pure and clean. Any non-beneficial hexes, programs, beliefs, any guides, any fraudulent or imitation guides, anything that is low vibe energy, we clear. Break any and all, known and unknown, seen and unseen, visible and unknown, visible and hidden, hexes, oaths, pacts, vows, pledges, agreements, obligations, jurisdictions, oppressions, suppressions, come on, suppressions, clear. Suppressions was hard to clear. Control manipulation. Mind control programming. Please clear any mind control programming. Thank you. Any hypnotics. Yes. Where anything that's been imposed upon us that were irrevocable contracts, anything that wasn't supposed to be there, remove it from our energy field. Yes, thank you. Any put a block up to prevent their return. Any other heavinesses, blocks, or residual associated with this are the patterns. Clear and release them now, please. Across all time, space, realities, dimensions, realms, lines, layers, and levels. We ask to go to our records, and we want to do a recalibration. We want to rejuvenate. We want to optimize. So we're going to do that. Give me a second. Clearing out everybody's, rejuvenating, optimizing, recalibrating all of our records. Thank you. Activate. Okay. Now we're going to activate pro-peace, pro-health, pro-love, pro-understanding, pro-compassion, pro-sustainability of prosperity. Oh, this one's got multiple guides. We want to do all of this with ease and to release all of these things that were in this continuous ongoing circle that was not working for us. So now we're activating pro-peace, pro-health, pro-love, pro-understanding, pro-compassion, pro-sustainable prosperity. And if you have something else you need a pro on, you name it. And the love was for relationships, for those of you who needed to hear that. Thank you. So I need to let you know that concludes the releases. Be sure and watch it again in relation to what you need to watch it to. Put a spray up of some sort so you can actually ground pretty quickly. That'll help you start grounding faster. And I thank you for having joined us.